Many are ready to give back to their cherished nature island. Welcome to Roots Connections on Q. Join Dr. Simone Matthew on Q95 as we tap into the life and times and expertise of our nature island Dominicans, at home and abroad. From our agriculture and industry to sustainable development, resilience and renewable energy, to the music, art, and entertainment industries. Join Dr. Simone Matthew and guests every other Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We examine where they came from, where they have been, where they are now, and how we can move forward together with our brothers and sisters at home and abroad to inspire and elevate our country, our economy, our people, and our youth to achieve excellence and success. Roots Connections on Q every other Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Only on Q95, the big station.
Good evening, Dominica. Wherever you are, whatever you might be doing right now, welcome to another edition of Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. So again, we're very happy that you're joining us. I hope that you had a great day, that your week is going very well. And so welcome to another episode of Roots Connections on Q. This is the program where we feature the change makers in our society. We showcase the visionaries among us who are not sitting by the sidelines talking about what we should do, but instead they are on the front line, walking the talk and showing us what happens when we turn that passion we all have for Dominica and the Caribbean region into action for the development of our people, our region, and our islands in general. So we continue to witness how quickly the world around us is changing and evolving. So here on Roots Connections, we are committed to engaging with our visionaries as we explore topics such as the changes we should be concerned about, the changes we should take advantage of, and what changes we need to make in order to move our people at home and abroad and our Caribbean region by extension forward. So we have another wonderful organization which is on a mission to secure the future of the youth of Dominica and the Caribbean region, and by extension the world, because this is a worldwide organization. So with the unfortunate increase that we're seeing in violence we're witnessing among our boys and our men, we will be looking at today what is the role of our organizations with guiding our youth, with navigating these very challenging times that we live in. So today we're very happy to be joined. We're being joined by the Scouts Organization in Dominica. So we're very happy to be joined by the Chief Scout Commissioner, Mr. Davidson John Esquire. We are also joined by Mr. Edward Henderson, who is the International Commissioner and the Acting Deputy Chief Commissioner. We are joined as well by Miss Christelle Charter-Francois, who is a trainer commissioner, and another trainer, Mrs. Huguette Saint-Hilaire. And before we get started, let me go ahead and say a very special thank you to Mrs. Saint-Hilaire. You know, she's one of our stalwarts on Roots Connections. She has been a wonderful supporter since day one. So she's one of the people who works in the background with me, who's always sending me an encouraging remark. And just as important, she shows up and she gives me ideas and she says, you know, here's a program we should do. So I want to publicly thank her, and especially for this particular program, because I've been wanting to do a program with the Scouting Organization in Dominica. And unfortunately, I was told that they're no longer in existence in Dominica. So imagine my shock and surprise when Mrs. Saint-Hilaire reaches out to me and say, hey, you know, I think it is important to showcase the work that the Scouting Organization is doing in Dominica. So again, Mrs. Saint-Hilaire, thank you so much for being a support of everything that I do. So again, welcome to Roots Connections on Q. This is episode number 94, and I am your host, Dr. Simone Matthew. Before we get started, let us always remember to pray for our country, Dominica, especially as I mentioned with the increased violence, gun violence, and just the decay of morality we're seeing on the ground lately. And let me go ahead and say publicly again condolences to Alex Bruno. I reached out to him privately, but I also want to say publicly condolences to him and the mother of his child. I believe her name is Margot, who lost their son, unfortunately, only yesterday to gun violence. So it just kind of begs the question, when are we going to recognize that what is going on in Dominica is a crisis that needs immediate intervention? So I'm so happy that we're having this conversation tonight. Lambi, good evening. Always great to have you on board. Thank you for being here. As always, we're grateful to you, our audience listening on the radio, and everyone who will join us via Facebook and YouTube Live on Q95 FM radio and Push Past 10 on Facebook, as well as Q95 FM radio on YouTube. Don't forget to share the live, click the notification button to find out whenever we go live so you will not miss a program. So good evening to Mr. G, the Q95 family, Mr. Sherwin Norris, our engineer. Thank you for keeping us connected. So let us give a warm Roots Connections welcome to our guests as they unmute their mics and they tell us who they are and their connections to Dominica. So we're going to start ladies first, gentlemen. I know you don't mind. So we're going to go with our elder stateswoman, Mrs. Huguette Saint-Hilaire. Good evening, Mrs. Saint-Hilaire. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, everyone. And I am honored to be on that program. And I would like to say my name is Huguette Andrew Saint-Hilaire. Most people know me as Huguette Andrew, the older ones, and the young ones know me as Mrs. Saint-Hilaire. So, okay, welcome to this program. I am an educator by profession, and I have won the Golden Drum Award 2019, and children are dear to my heart. So anything to do to upgrade the youth, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Saint-Hilaire, for being there. Mrs. Charter Francois, good evening to you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. And as Ms. Cynthia said, I'm delighted to be here. I probably stand in the minority of the youth. So I'm happy to give my opinion and see things from the youth standpoint. I am currently an accountant by profession. I'm also a past member of the Marvel Scout Troop. So I am willing to give my insight this evening and see how we can all come together and make a mark, I guess, where we see a mark is lacking here.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you for being here. Mr. Davidson John, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to the listening audience of Q95. I am David St. John Esquire. I am from the village of Maho. I am also from the Third Maho Scout Group. I recently obtained the Chief Commissioner's position from January 4th, and it is my pleasure to serve at that level to see how we can save a few of our young men that is out there that is so needed some attention. And our duty tonight is to try to see how we can disseminate some information to see how we can capture a few minds tonight over that
Mm-hmm.
tonight.
Yeah, excellent. And Mr. Henderson?
Yes, I'm Aaron Henderson from Dominica, of course, but I'm out of Ireland at this moment. Um, I've been in the government service for over 20 years in tourism, in cooperatives, teaching, whatever. And I've been with the Scouts for maybe about 40 years now. And I'm happily retired. I And Mr. Davidson came and troubled me again. I had left scouting for a while, but when he came asking me to join him, I could not refuse
Good.
because I love the young people. I've always
Mhm.
been with the youth in teaching, scouting, whatever. And I'm happy to be here. And I think if I can make a mark, then I will try my best.
Mhm.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, excellent. So, guys, thank you all for being here, and thank you for your introduction. Your introductions. So, if you just join us, we have another packed and engaging program for you. And this evening, we're looking at with the increasing cases of violence we are witnessing in Dominica among our boys and our men, and the general sense of hopelessness that we know many of our young people are experiencing. What is the role of our organizations in guiding our youth with navigating these very challenging times? And to guide us with our discussion, we are joined by the Dominica National Scout Organization, and many of us refer to them as the Boy Scouts. So, here on Roots Connections, we continue to explore opportunities to empower and develop our youth, our next generation, by exploring how they can navigate these very challenging times. So, I want to get the conversation off and running, and just feel free to chime in as the spirit moves you. Don't wait for me to necessarily call on you. So, the first question I have for us is as it relates to youth in Dominica. Just kind of tell us about your observations, what you are seeing on the ground, and how is it different from what we saw in the past? So, Miss Santile, I want to come to you first because I know you have been a lifelong educator. Thousands of students have probably gone through your classes and worked, and you've worked with them. So kind of just tell us, what is the difference, your observations with regards to what you are seeing now versus what we saw in the past, and then we'll go around the panel for everyone's thoughts on the same question. You're muted. Yes.
Okay. Actually, I was raised up by the scout movement and by the guide movement. So on the ground, I'm seeing less and less of those organizations to shape character. So we get them raw from the home, and nothing is out there to shape character. I was raised with my godmother, who was a stalwart, Mrs. Helen Mason, in the guide movement. So I basically am a child of the movement. And I went through a brownies, I went through guides, and I also went through rangers. And eventually, I felt it was time to make my mark. So when they called for leaders in the guide and scout section, I was set. And what I notice is that there isn't so much of a calling for the youth in shaping character. So it's left all to the school, and you have to teach. So, so it's either you split it in two, or and sometimes it's not enough time for the day, you know. So there I am, you know,
Excellent.
watching going
Yes.
on Guam.
Yes, excellent. So, not enough organizations playing a role in shaping the
Yeah.
character of our young people. That's a very valid point. Anybody else can feel free to chime in. Mr. John, Mr. Henderson, Mrs. Chada Francois.
I don't want to object, but I have a different perspective.
Okay.
I believe that we are in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Reason I say that is because we've moved from where a community used to raise children to now where parents believe that I can do it by myself. But in actuality, we know that is not possible because the majority of the time your child or your children is out of your sight.
Mm-hmm.
And before we used to rely on Jane, Tom, Peter. I even remember once that I got a beating for something that I have no idea about. I was just on my merry way being, and it's just because somebody said that I did not say good afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
It is so sad that my mother and that person wasn't even friends, and I got a beating for that because she had the perspective that even if she and that person are not friends, that is not my issue, which now I see. But at the time, I did not see it like that. So we are at two different eras. And I don't want to put the blame on the parents. I just put it on how we allow the current to move us. Because
Mm-hmm.
I am a parent. I have my oldest daughter is 50, well, she'll be 15 on Sunday. My son will be 11 the following Saturday, and then I have a 4-year old. So it's like I am in a new era, and I am raised in a new era, not in the era that Mrs. Centilere was in, or Mr. John was in, or Mr. Henderson was in, or even you yourself was in. That's
Mm-hmm.
a completely different time. We don't acknowledge what made us great. We just we just adapt into the time. So even with the violence, this has been happening around the world. It is just reaching out on our doorstep now.
Mm-hmm.
Reason for that is we have taken the trend of the countries out there. So we now have the behavior of the countries out there. So I think that is what is happening because this sort of behavior has been happening in America, even in St. Lucia, in Guyana, those places for years. We didn't, our small little dot on the map didn't know what these behaviors were until now. And now reality has set in where our children are raising up with no respect. That is the first issue. That they no longer feel like they have to respect somebody older than them, or they don't believe that that person, even if they don't know the person, that they have to be obedient or they have to show courtesy to that person. But before, it was mandatory. It wasn't an option. It's like you didn't have a choice. You had to do it. So I think that's what's going on here for now.
Yeah, yeah, and you raised some really valid points. So thank you for that. And I think one of the most important things you said is the respect. Because you're correct. We grew up in a generation where big people business was big people business. And even if your mother had fallen out with the neighbor, you as a child still had to respect the neighbor, still say good morning. And not in my generation, but in my mother's generation, an elderly person, an older person could give you a good whooping, and when you got home, you still got another whooping, right? But now it seems like there's this resistance from a lot of parents where they're fighting people who are charged with the responsibility of guiding their children. So you hear parents arguing with teachers instead of collaborating with teachers and being on the same page with teachers, and having their young children call grown people by their first names. I mean, to me, that is shocking and appalling. When I'm in Dominica, I'm looking at a 5-year-old who's addressing a grown person who could be their grandparents by their first name. And I'm like, where is the level of respect? And I think one of the things I want to make sure we explore in this program is you're correct that now these issues are on our doorstep, but it's still, I'm an eternal optimist. So I still think there's hope that we will not become the next St. Lucia and the next Guyana. And so this is why I want to feature what you're doing so we can invite more people to come on board so we can reverse this trend we're seeing in Dominica. Mr. John, you wanted to add something?
Yes, my dear. I Yes, I will add something because it, while we are saying we are different, living in a different era, the generation today is different. In my days, it was compulsory that you join a youth organization
Mm-hmm.
because you would add help make things easier for parents before. It wasn't a if or a but, it was a compulsory thing you get in there. But today, what we're finding now, the people who produce or who make children, they are children themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a problem, becomes a challenge. Because, for instance, if you call a meeting at the troop level where you have a parents' council, where parents are supposed to come and sit and listen to the cry of what's happening in the various groups, parents always have an excuse because they're busy to go somewhere else than making time for their children or prepared to invest in their children. I always tell the parents, whatever you invest in your children, that's what you get out in return. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't invest, you don't intend to get anything out from them. So their priority must be towards their children. Our priority as group leaders is to help our parents to make our children better citizens and better men and women of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And if we cannot get to that way, it's not going to be better for us in this country. And too many of our young men out there is suffering. And I have encountered with a number of children out there that need parental guidance. And when they do not get, they go the other way. So
Mm-hmm.
they have so much energy. If they don't burn it into positive things, they end up into wrong things, and then we have some problem in our hands. So the movement is there.
Mm-hmm.
It is there to make a difference in a child's life, to make them a better citizen of this country, because we talk about our character. The movement is that we have a four pillar that we can depend on of scouting: character development, citizenship training, personal fitness, and leadership development. And the movement have these things to offer our young men. Before it was scouting for boys, but today it is scouting for both male and female. And we need to do what we have to do to see how we can assist to save some of our young people because they are the future prime ministers, president, nurses, doctors, lawyers, and they be good leaders like us because we are on our way out and
Mm-hmm.
in replacement as soon as we can get them done.
Yes, excellent. Mr. Henderson, you're muted.
I would like to approach the question in terms of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the past decades, for example, we did not have television and smartphones and tablets and so on and so forth. So the attraction to boys, especially, was to be in small groups, liming around the place. You know,
Mm-hmm.
going to the garden, going to the sea, and so on and so forth. And scouting was very attractive to them because that is the structure of scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Boys together doing things they love. But what we find is that when the introduction of smartphones and those things came on, the attraction changed from little groups to I alone on a piece of equipment. So I
Mm-hmm.
can take my phone, travel anywhere I want, and still talk to my friends from whatever distance. And if I don't want to talk to anybody, I go on YouTube or Facebook and so on and so forth. So the point I want to make is that if we have to get scouting attractive to boys now, we have to look at the attraction that is right now running things, which
Mm-hmm.
is the smartphone and different equipment that people use. If you notice, you go to church, you have a big screen up front. People don't bring Bibles to church anymore. They have a telephone or something
Yep.
with the scriptures on it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they're looking at the scriptures in service is another thing, but they have their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look at the attractions and work around that and include it in the program to make it more appealing to young people. And it is not rocket science to do that. And if we can attract the young people, not take away from what they like, but to include it so that they follow the attraction, then we can make inroads into the young people's lives and make them better citizens.
And that is an extremely important point because all too often I hear parents and the powers that be criticize technology. And I think to myself, first of all, it is not going anywhere. Technology is here to stay. So we can spend our time fighting and arguing and complaining that technology is the issue, or we can do as you're saying, Mr. Henderson. We can embrace the technology and meet our young people where they are. So they're attracted to technology. Well, let's put the information we want them to absorb in the technology. Let's embrace social media and let us show them positive ways of using social media to be productive citizens and to build that character that we've already started talking about. So thank you so much. We'll continue to explore everything that you've talked about during the program. But before we really get into the heart of the program, let us just look at the history of the Scouts organization. And Crystal, thank you for sending me this information. So I'm just going to read a description, and then guys, you'll feel free to chime in any other information you would like to share. So the Dominica National Scout Organization, the Scout Association of Dominica, established in 1929, is the key scouting organization in Dominica, joining the World Organization of the Scout Movement in 1990. With a focus on community service and personal development, the association engages youth in various villages across Dominica, adhering to programs modeled after the United Kingdom's Scouting framework. About the Dominica National Scout Organization, it promotes the growth and welfare of the scouting movement in Dominica, emphasizing responsibility, community service, and leadership among its members. It operates with an executive committee and a council, which together manage its activities and strategic direction. The Scouts Organization of Dominica is committed to fostering values of responsibility and community service through its diverse activities. Let's see the key activities and achievements. Membership participation. The association had approximately 1,100 members as of 2004, indicating a robust involvement in community. Hopefully, we have an updated number on this. International engagement. Dominica Scouts participate in Caribbean camps and hosted the notable Caribbean Jamboree in 1994. Governance structure. The association's governance includes an executive committee and a council responsible for managing national scouting affairs and promoting growth. The Dominica National Scout Organization's efforts in developing young individuals through scouting activities significantly contribute to the youth's personal growth and community involvement in Dominica. Is there anything anyone would like to add to what the Scouts do? And I kind of want to also expound on the pillars that Mr. John mentioned before. So let us just kind of talk more about the organization, your pillars, your vision, your mission, your goals. Anyone feel free to chime in. Mr. Edward, you're muted.
Yeah. The Scout Association it used to be just boys, but now it seems the girls are more likely to join the movement now because
but let me ask that question. That is a very important point. So why was there a need to include girls? Because I think it is so important to have organizations that really focus on the development of boys and men. So why was there a need to include girls in the Scout organization?
Well, that goes very far back. From 1907, it was the experiment was done with boys, but soon after that, the girls wanted to join the Scout movement, but Baden Powell said, why not have your own group?
Right.
And his wife took over the girls. So we had two parallel organizations moving forward. But as laws and different things in different
Oh.
countries started expanding or being reviewed, some people challenged the idea that girls wanted to be in scouts and the organization was not letting it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if they took the Scout Association to court, but somewhere along the line, they had to make the allowance for the
Mm-hmm.
girls to join scouting. And
Wow.
what that did is that when girls into something, they tend to overtake it.
Yep.
And we were being silent, so to speak, in the
Mm-hmm.
scout movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to limit the number of girls that join scouting and encourage them to join the guides. Uh, and so after a time, we just agreed that, okay, if if they don't want to join the guides, we'll allow them to come, but keeping a quota system then. And
Mm-hmm.
it has worked well, but something came up, not recently, but over time, and that is the safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime you have male and female involved, you have some safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the issues that come along with ladies and men and boys
Mm-hmm.
and girls participation. So much so that we now have something we call safe from harm policy guiding the scout movement when it comes to people joining and having activities together. And we also have the recruitment issue, which means that there is a certain quota of female leaders and administrators that you need to have to go along with the liberation of the movement, so to speak. And so this it brings up a number of issues, and I might be jumping the discussion,
No, go ahead.
let's
Go
say,
right ahead. Go
flow
right ahead.
for a bit. But the Scouters, the World Scout movement has done a lot of research as far as scouting is concerned, and they have looked at the young people at different stages, let's say 7 to 11, 12 to 15, and 15 onwards. And they have put policies in place to govern every section, not just for the boys and their activities, but for the leadership that train those boys.
Mm-hmm.
And at a higher level, to put policies in place that will fit with any association that belongs to the Scout movement. And so the Scout movement has expanded so much that every little tidbit of information you need to run your Scout association, to run your troop, to run your pack and so on, is already documented. And they are being reviewed every year to meet the time, as Mrs. Carter talked about, making it fit the times that we are in now. So now, Mr. John, I think, mentioned scouting for boys, but that was since in the 19 something.
Hmm.
You cannot take scouting for boys now and put it in 2025
Right.
because scouting is not about tying knots, going on hike, drilling, and those things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Scouting is trying to develop the total person.
Right.
And to develop a total person, you cannot have one leader. You have to have a cadre of leaders with different trainings that they can come together, and after they have done what they need to do, the boy will be a complete boy. And even as we talk about the violence we're seeing nowadays, if the boys have something positive to do, they'll not be violent.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not sure if I should say it on the radio now, But the trend now is everywhere you pass, fellas have a scissors clicking, clip, 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 and wrapping and so on.
Oh, wow.
That scouting supposed to get that out of them. If you have something to do,
Exactly.
you will not be sitting on the tree clipping and wrapping.
Yeah, the devil finds work for idle hands.
Yes, so scouting has addressed all those things, but the thing is, if you have the wrong adults running the scout troop without knowledge of what they should be doing properly,
Hmm.
then you're going to have boys not even looking or thinking of scouting because there is no attraction.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, as we develop in Dominica, we have to open our understanding.
Hmm.
And when we do open our understanding, we will notice how much we have not learned from scouting. There's so much to. I've been in scouting for over 40 years.
Hmm.
And as I came back to scouting, I'm realizing how illiterate I am as far as scouting is concerned. Because I looked at the website, the international website, and I'm bamboozled, so to speak. It's like I never knew scouting before.
Right. And I want
So
us
we have
to,
a lot of work to do.
yeah, and I want us to I want to give everyone on the panel an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk about the pillars as well. But I know the scouting organization did not have any control over the fact that girls had to be included. But I think we're doing such a wonderful job empowering our boys, our girls. But I'm always asking the question, is it at the detriment to our boys? Because like you say, it seems now, and kudos to our girls, I'm not criticizing them, our girls now are so much more assertive and confident that wherever they step in, whether they're males in there, they dominate the conversation. And I literally had that experience yesterday because my daughter only has female friends, but yesterday one of her female friends invited her brother to be with us. And immediately as they got into the car, the girls were all talking, and if I did not call on the boy, he would not speak up. And even when he started to speak up, the girls would drown him out, and I had to say, "No, wait, stop, let him speak." So that is the kind of concern, not to mention the safety concern that you mentioned, because boys are going to be distracted by pretty girls, let's just face it, right? So here you have the distraction. And also I just believe that boys learn and grow and develop, and they socialize differently. So I'm kind of happy to hear that a quota was placed on the number of girls that could join in, because pretty much the girls would have probably just taken over the organization. And where is that organization specifically meant for the development of boys and into young men that is focused on their needs and their needs only? Mr. John, I see you nodding away. Share with us.
Yeah, because according to what Commissioner Henderson says, there has to be a limit of the number of girls joining the movement, because really the movement was made for boys. But as time goes on, different laws has to be looked at and reviewed, and then to create space for women. And if we did not put something to control that, then the woman would dominate the movement, and it would become a
Right.
movement for girls, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So that is why we have to now prepare our leaders now to face that challenge, to deal both male and female. When
Mhm.
men and women somewhere, it can be so difficult, it can be so distracted sometimes. So you have extra work to do to supervise these two sections.
Mhm.
But the association is doing it best it can, and as we go forward, because we just had a training 2 Sundays ago by the regional office to do what we call a safe from harm program with our newly commissioners and trainers to implement some of the safety measures. And we are now looking at a document to put into place so we can present it to the executive, so we can ratify it, do the fine tuning, and then get it approved. So all these are mechanisms that has been put into play to ensure that our leaders, our commissioners who are supervising at the national level, at the individual level, know what has to be done. So then the association can be very safe and outside there.
Right. So now if we think about it, pretty much the only organization, well, school that is committed to only boys is the St. Mary's Academy.
That
at
is
this
true.
point, and the St. Mary's Academy cannot educate and develop every boy in Dominica, so that is
That,
pretty much the only option we have right now,
yes, that is true.
for
That is
the
true.
sole focus on the development of the young man. But let us talk about the other pillars. Mr. Centilla, if you want to chime in. So we talked about character, the importance of character. Let us talk about, I think Mr. John mentioned something about citizenship. So tell us about that pillar in particular.
I wanted to chime in
Yes.
on the previous
Okay.
conversation, because you don't find boys in guides.
Thank you.
Yes, you don't find boys in
Thank you.
guides, and brownies were made for
Yes, girls.
girls,
I was a
and
brownie.
cubs were made for. I had so much fun with my cubs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and God blessed me with two sons.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I was saying that the training, although we don't want it to be different, however, the male sex
Mm-hmm.
is has to be trained differently,
Absolutely.
and and you know what it reminds me of a child growing, a little boy growing in a house without a male figure. He doesn't know what to do, and then the females infiltrating the scout movement. I mean, according to you, if there wasn't a quota, then they would just brush out the male
Mm-hmm.
sex. And and that's pretty alarming. So we should think about that.
Yes, we really
And
should.
yes, yes, it hurts my heart when I see little boys with nothing to do, and there is an organization that could engulf them, envelope them, and give them the things that men, well, not men, but male sex
Mm-hmm.
wants to do. And because the girls are around, you have to soften it,
Right.
because you
Right.
cannot really give. How many girls would take part in a cricket game
Right.
unless for fun, unless their ego tells them that they can do it better than the
Mm-hmm.
boys,
Yeah.
you know? So we should, I don't know, but
Yeah.
for
It's very
me,
concerning. It's very
for
concerning.
me, it's
Yeah.
concerning,
Yeah.
because I had fun over 50 years ago. I was with the Boy Scouts, and especially with Mr. John and Mr. Henderson. And what we had going was a pleasure to
Mm-hmm.
see young men. Today on Q95, I hope the listener is there hearing this. I heard a man said that he was crafted by the Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared. And
Mm-hmm.
he mentioned all 10 of the scout laws, just rambling it out.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he lived by that. And he's a whole person, as far as he was concerned, by the scout movement. And
Mm-hmm.
I have heard several people on conversations with Matt and with you also saying that where is the scout movement? And
Mm-hmm.
they're not saying it, not females asking for the scout movement. They are males
Mm-hmm.
asking for the scout movement, something that could shape the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We
Yeah,
have to.
and you're absolutely correct because just watching the interaction yesterday again, that's the first time we've had a boy join the girls. And even their play is different. Boys naturally have a lot more energy, right? So the
Yes.
the girls were annoyed with him because he wanted to play rough and tumble. And the first thing he said, because we were inviting them over, and the first thing he said, "Oh, all girls," because he wants to play with a boy who knows. And boys are naturally just, they want to rough and tumble, and the girls didn't want to rough and tumble. They wanted to be cute, and they were in the pool playing, and he wanted to be splashing water and hitting them with the noodles, and they didn't want him to. So I think we're really missing an opportunity. Because so let me ask this: are there separate activities for the boys and the girls, or is it everybody participates in the same activities?
No, I would.
Well, I've been meaning to give you all a little insight. I might be the most talkative one here, but
Yes, that's okay.
share a different opinion.
Yes.
I think we're sending the wrong message.
Mm-hmm.
The girls are not infiltrating on the boys' little thing that they have going on at all. There
Mm-hmm.
are some girls, I'm going to take me for example. When I joined the Scout movement, I joined the Scout movement because I was impressed. I had two parents that were scouts on the Mr. John Scout troop. My mother
Mm-hmm.
was a scout, my father was a scout. And if they tell you they were one of the most active scout members, which were my mother and my father. And that gave me the brownies were not interesting to me. I didn't want to bake no cakes. I didn't want to have no cake sale. I wanted to go camping.
Okay.
These were the things that interest me. I wanted to tie knots. You cannot tie a better knot than me. I like tying knots. I have a son, and I try to teach my son things that pertain to scouting, even if he's not a scout, because that's what's interesting to me. The girls, the guides, the brownies, it's a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the perspective that we need to do cake sale, we need to do lemonade stands, we need to do these things. But there are these other types of girls. I like to say there's two different sets of girls.
Mm-hmm.
There are the ones that like to look pretty. There's the ones that don't care with getting their shoes dirty. There's the ones that if you step on their toe, you're going to, it's like you're breaking an egg. But there are those like me, we want to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to deprive them of doing those things just because we think that it should be boys? But
Mm-hmm.
guess what? As Mrs. Cecilia said, it's the men who are calling for the scouts. But
Mm-hmm.
guess what? It's the men who kill the scouts. It's not the ladies. Because
Mm-hmm.
the ladies a chance,
Mm-hmm.
we will take scouting to the next level. Have you had an executive with just ladies? We make things happen. We do things. Go the extra mile. We always have a friend that we can call in somewhere. We always have somebody that owes us a favor. So the
Mm-hmm.
ladies know how to get things done. The men are more relaxed. Okay, tomorrow we will check on that. We will, but ladies are not like that. Ladies are more organized. Ladies are more scheduled. Ladies work on their time. So I think we've never, and I think I read that they did take the Scout Association to court to
Mm-hmm.
allow girls to be part of. Now, if we look at the trend, everywhere that before it only used to have male firemen, male policemen. Now we have women. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because men feel or they tend to think that they can do things on their time when it's convenient for them. But notwithstanding that, we have to keep the role open and not bashing any men. So I don't
No,
want
no,
to
no, absolutely not.
attacking them. But at the end of the day, behind every man, there's at least five strong women to support that man. So I like to say that women are not the head, but we're the neck, we're the
Mm-hmm.
spine, we're the shoulders. Without those things, men cannot stand up. It's really not bashing a man. We just iron the clothes and make the escape in the pants look sharp. So why can't we iron our own clothes and make our escape look sharp? And we do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that is the reason that our boys are taking a back seat. Our boys are taking a back seat because they don't like, goes back to my respect point. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have no respect. They don't like commands. They don't like challenges. They like things easy. As Mr. Henderson said, if you take a walk, you will see more than 99% of our boys have a scissors. Now, in Mr. John's days with my mother and my father, it had a certain time that you needed to be inside. He can give some light onto that. On a day when you had to parade, you have to have your shirt in your pants. You have to salute everybody that you meet of authority. Men don't like these things. They feel like, what would my friend think? Or what would this one say if they see me saluting Mr. John in the middle of Roseau? But a woman takes pride in doing that because I respect Mr. John's level or I respect Mr. Henderson's level. They work hard to get there. We know the value of what they did to get there, so we
Mm-hmm.
respect them. But a boy would think, okay, who is Mr. John to tell me to put my pants in my shirt? Oh, my mother say I can walk on the road without my pants in my shirt. But at that time, it was Mr. John said to put your pants shirt in your pants. I remember we went camping once and we have a DC Scout member. Algie is his name. And I remember everybody was afraid. He was the quartermaster. And Algie, we had a whole session of behavior and so forth. In the night, Algie teaching the children to steal bakes. Now everybody afraid to go in the kitchen for bakes because we just had a session. That's respect. Now they don't know that. Now they're on a different level. Now they're not even in the. A lot of them don't even know what scouting is. Do we blame them? No. The same men that are asking, where is this culture? These are the ones that we blame because they were part of this culture. Did they extend any? Did they stay around? A lot of people is afraid of responsibility. Nobody wants to lead. You know why nobody wants to lead? Because they don't believe that they set an example. So you don't want to be double standard to say that in the day I'm doing something and in the night I'm doing something else and then I'm telling the boys something. So we now have three different categories. I telling the boys something at meeting, I doing something in the night and I doing something in the day. We don't like that. But you have the people that maintain it all the while. Those are the ones that remain, whether scouting die, whether it go down. For example, you see Mr. John there all the time. From the time I was born, I know Mr. John is a scout. I can just see him and I recognize that he's a scout. You know why? I see his shirt in his pants all the time. He can have the most dirtiest clothes in Roseau. His shirt is always in his pants. He's always well fixed. But the ones that got that example, they got that training, they fall off the wagon somewhere down the line. And now, because they know that the scout movement can teach, they want to give their burden to somebody else. But how does it look? You got the training, you know what the training is, you know what the training can do for your child or for yourself. You did not adhere to it, but now you feel that you should ask for it.
But let me chime in. Thank you so much, Christopher, sharing a different perspective because that is what makes our conversations good. But let me just say, let's guard against generalizations. So we might want to say, some men, some women, some boys, some girls, because we don't want to put everybody in the same category. But I think the fundamental point that we're raising here, and it's great that young ladies like you have received a lot of great experiences from being a scout. But I think the point we're trying to make here is that the needs of boys and the needs of girls in the developmental stage is different, right? So boys have certain needs that are not completely met if they're in an organization with a girl where they might be shy, they might act differently because all the girls are watching and we want to impress a girl, right? As opposed to if they were only in a group with only boys, right? So I think that is the point we're trying to raise. And then what we might also be able to take away from the conversation is that maybe we need an injection of what the scouts are doing into the Girl Guides, so that it's not just about the traditional roles of a woman baking and cooking and making anything else, but we're actually speaking to the young ladies and saying, well, what would you like out of this organization? But I mean, that is water under the bridge, because at this point, there's no control over whether women and boys and girls can be scouts. It's a decision that is already made. But I just kind of want to open up the floor for anybody else's thoughts so far. Guys, keep the comments coming on Facebook. I see them. I'm going to come take them. And in 5 minutes, we're going to open the phone lines so anyone can call in. But anyone wants to share anything? Mrs. Centilia, go ahead.
Okay. So I was thinking that there could be Girl Scouts with a group of girls and Boy Scouts with a group of boys. So you don't feel intimidated talking to the boys hard, or instilling manly, sentiments that you see them soft about, you know, instilling those things in the male sect. And as Christelle said, women have a self injection of
Self-awareness.
being born agile.
Yeah, but some of that is socialization, though. Some of that is
Right.
socialization.
Exactly. So if a boy has two sisters at home and he goes into an organization that have many girls, or the same thing as home, probably he might just reject that. And we don't, not knowing the comparisons between the sexes, and he might say, "Oh, girls again," as they always say, and that might be some of the things that reject boys into the scouting movement. And then, if you want leaders, male leaders want to be, let's say, instilling a father figure, maleness into boys. But when you have girls, you have to soften, what you're going to say, because, you know, we have to face the challenges that we placed on ourselves, being soft to the movement and taking in girls. As Crystal said, maybe they should include some things of boys tying knots and climbing trees for the girls, because not everybody is spark. Yes, and then that's what we should be doing. But we all make mistakes, and it's never too late to see about that, because
Yeah.
we are seeing our youth suffering.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
male youth
Yeah.
suffering, and
Yeah.
the women are sailing through, whether we like it or not. The women are sailing through.
Yeah,
So
and that is why I asked the question, has it been a detriment to the detriment of our boys when we see our women are so empowered now, which is wonderful and great, but we have to find that balance, because these women need husbands, right? We cannot have a society of only women. We need our men to be just as 45, just as strong, and play the roles that they're meant to play. But I'm with Crystal, because if I had a choice, I would want to be in a group that is a more robust group than baking cookies and selling cookies on the side of the road. But Mr. John and then Mr. Henderson, I want you to chime in as well.
Yes, the thing is with women being members of this whole troop, um, there are some women who are really rigid, just like men, and they do not fall under the category of the guides. They rather remain out of the guides and not be there. What do we do? Should we leave them on the road? No, we bring them in. And you will surprised to see the thing that the men has to do, they did it better than the men.
Yep.
So this category of women You have to accept them into the movement because they
Right.
think like men, they behave like men. Because Samuel can tell you the program we had during her mother's time and even her time, it was the same robot system. There was nothing soft for them and harder for the men. It was one step, and they used to master the trading, and that is what have her today, what she is today.
Yep.
She's not a soft person as she's there. She talks tough.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. She's assertive.
So she's
She's
one of the people
assertive.
there today who can attest that it wasn't soft for them.
Right.
So there are women who behave like men, who have the attitude as men. So you have to rub them in, and that is what we have in this set of women now being scout members because they just do not want to become guides. Even when I would bring them in and have a session with them and tell them there are certain activities we can do jointly with them, but would like them to go through the guides movement first, and when they get older, they can come across. Next day, I see them on the road, and they go anywhere, they stay on the roadside. And then we want to also protect our women too. So we had no choice, and we had to follow what the whole body decided and then accept. And then
Yeah.
some of them even proven to be even better than the men. I can
Right.
tell you that for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Hennison.
Um, I believe that the question of leadership is key. You could have boys, girls, whatever. If the leadership is poor, it still will not work, even if you have boys only. Now, I was a trainer for over 20 years. That is much too long. You cannot have one person as a trainer for 20 years, or you should not have somebody for 20 years because you get rusty after a time. People need to move. Now, if you have a system where you recruit boys and girls, as the leader, you're supposed to get new blood, new trainers, new leaders, male and female, because you're talking about girls and boys. And the combination of the new blood, the new training, and the new leadership will take it through without the problems that we're talking about. So it's not about whether you have girls or boys, but you need to have the structure in place, the leadership, the skills, the attraction again, and everything and the safety from harm and so on. You have to have all those things in place to make it work. And whether you have boys or girls, it will work. So I would not keep girls out because they're saying girls are soft and girls take it over. Let them take over. It will give the boys something to
Yep.
aim for.
Right.
And if you notice, even the United Nations is asking governments to have more women as ministers and more women as this and more women as that. Even in Dominica, we have more female PSs than male PSs. And they're doing a good job, apparently, because nobody has been saying anything much about them. When you go in business now, look at Crystal. She's the accountant for a firm. A lot of the accountants are females. Who goes to UE? In Dominica, you have the extramural. Ladies, ladies, ladies. So it's not a thing you fight with. You go with the flow, but you put structures in place and the leadership in place to make the thing happen, and everybody will be happy.
Excellent,
I
excellent.
rest my case.
Yes, yes. So one of the questions, we have to stop to take the phone calls, but one of the questions I already want us to start thinking about is how do we reach our young men, right? Because Mrs. Santil is completely correct. The women are soaring, they're taking off. I mean, I just think of Jody Dublin, and she just secured another 30,000 US dollars in grant funding, right? So we're seeing lots of examples of the women taking off, but we cannot forget to invest in our young men. So one of the questions I want us to look at when we come back from the break is how do we reach our young men? Is it too late? Do we just throw up our hands and say, well, he's 20, he's set in his ways, and there's nothing we can do for him? Or is there still hope? Is there still opportunities to turn the life around of a young man? Because a 20-year-old is a very young person. And I see them all the time on the block when I go down to Dominica and I go to Baffin. They're just sitting on the block all day long, smoking and doing nothing, going nowhere fast. So I want us to still think of ways that we can provide hope for our young people. So when we come back, we're going to talk about your recruiting efforts, your training programs, what activities you offer, what would make a young person want to become a scout in Dominica. But let's go over to the studio, Lambi, for the calls, please.
Roots Connection in queue, taking your calls. The numbers are as follow: 449 3095, 449 3096, 449 3097, 616 4257, 305 432 9624. Let me run those numbers one more time: 449 3095 96 and 97, 616 4257. Those are all local numbers. The overseas or international number, 305 432 9624. Back to you, Simon.
Yes, thank you. So everyone on Facebook, don't forget, if you want to be acknowledged for being here, just post a message, say where you're joining us from. We see David Johnson, David Joseph, my apologies, David Joseph. Greetings and good night to each and every one. My mom, Medina Senhouse. Good evening, Darrows, Rose, locked in. David says, presently in Dominica and the rest of the world, we need a total moral reset. And guys, just take a note of any of the comments you want to respond to. Presently in Dominica and the rest of the world, we need a total moral reset. The problem is that too many parents would rather be friends with their child or children rather than being a parent. When that happens, there are no boundaries and no guidance. Anton George, what happened is this: few decades ago, there were no guns in our streets, so we could not see the wickedness of some of our people, but now guns and masks are all over, so we are being exposed. And then he continues, and plus we have a very slack government. David, again, parents also have a big part to play in the deterioration of the children's behavior. We as parents have to encourage our children to partake in physical activities. Also, our schools, again, we have to put some blame on parenting, because as a child, I was made to join the Boy Scout by my mother and especially my grandmother. In fact, my mother had 6 boys. Wow. And every single one of them passed through the St. Alphonsus Scout Troop. In today's society, girls, women are also involved in smoking, drinking, and hanging out, though not on the same level as men. Again, it goes back to boundaries, guidance, and discipline in the home. Previously, there should be branch of scouts, particularly for girls. They should not be in the same group. Integration of male ideologies into the girls would be the right way to go. Unfortunately, with the advent of women's lib, we were forced to allow women into our space. So any thoughts, any comments on the Facebook comments that were shared? What about what he talked about in terms of parenting, the role of parenting in creating the character of the child? Yeah, hold on. I think Mr. John is muted.
That is so true because, as I said earlier on, in my early days, it was mandatory from every home. In the village of Maho, practically every house had at least 2 members from the home. And during meeting days, if they are absent, the parents would let me know they are not able to come.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did not see them, it was my duty to inform the parents that they are not there. And when they come home, they would have to give an account where they were.
Hmm.
And there was a connection between the home and the scout troop before. But what we see happening today is the women that are making children are children. So there is no, it's very few parents that is really connected directly with the scout movement in the various area. Most of the parents are disconnected. For instance, you call a parents meeting to discuss a plan or program or even a training for themselves, because recently we had that safe from harm, and we had a section for adult in scouting, and some of the parents just didn't accept the training. But as I always say, what we invest in our children, that will have to get back out tomorrow. And if our parents are not on board with the various scout groups, it will not last, it will die, it will fail. And we are appealing to these parents who are teenagers to start taking their responsibility to come forward and to join the scout movement throughout the country to help make a difference for the children. That's what we need.
Yeah, excellent. And what I am hearing is, as we're all saying right now, is that it's a collaborative effort,
It is.
right?
It
So
is.
it's the family, it is the groups like the Scout movement, it is the organizations, the school, and we can't even talk about church these days because from what I hear, people are not going to church no more. So I'm I'm not even going to include church. Me personally, church is part of my equation, but we will just say the family, the organizations, the schools, collectively in a collaborative effort. It takes a village to raise our children, and a lot of the dysfunction we're seeing right now is because our village has been dismantled. So Mrs. Centilla, go ahead.
Okay. I see two of our callers mentioned the role of the parents,
Hmm.
and one said that there should be a moral reset, reset,
Yes.
and and moral values are really under the feet
Hmm.
now, right now. Values, morality,
Hmm.
and values are outside of the door. Even if we um, challenge the parents to do certain things, but they dress like the children. So it makes it difficult. And there you have 70 something year old people, 80-year-old people trying to reset a moral standing
Hmm.
value that they had in growing up, in bringing out children, and we are seeing that it's necessary now. And before, we could tell that this one is going to be better, and this one is going to go good, because they had the gam, as we would say, of being beautiful people inside. And remember, these children are going to rule society. So what you think is going to come out of our Dominica in a few years' time, you know?
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So let us kind of talk about your programs, your activities, your training. So Krista, let me come over to you. You want to share with us some of the activities? Like, why would I be interested in having my son or daughter join the Scouts?
Okay, so I think this Scout movement is dedicated to learn responsibility, respect, stability, and a sense of guidance. Um, I'm going to go back a little where now with initiative together with the World Scout movement, the Safe from Harm initiative, as Mr. Henderson keeps mentioning, this is not just geared to keep children safe, it's also geared to keep the adults responsible for those children safe as well. Because if we're in an environment, we need to know how to act, how to behave, how to direct, how to lead. So, main reason you would just off the bat send your child to a scout troop. Let's look at what's happening on our streets.
Mm-hmm.
First thing scouting does, it keeps children off the streets.
Good.
It teaches them value, the reason why, not just keep them off the street, but the reason why they should be off the street.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of the points that I had jotted down before was It gives them responsibility. A lot of children come from different home environments, different home settings. Sometimes, or many of the times, that we see that their home environment is not a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them tend to run to the street to find safety in probably a friend, in probably a friend of a friend, a cousin, somebody who has that experience, and offer them that safe space. But what we tend to do as scouts is to create a brotherhood. That's what it is. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
girls, whether it's boys, it's a brotherhood. It's a sense that we are together. The whole motto of scouting is be prepared. Be
Mm-hmm.
prepared for what? Be prepared for anything. Because anything can happen out there. You need to know what to do when anything happens. That whole direction gives them the responsibility to choose their own path. Because we can sit here tonight and say, what do we have to offer the boys? All we like. We can go and look for two stars in the galaxy and bring it down, and that does not interest the boys. We
Mm-hmm.
will not get the boys.
Right.
Sadly, we need to even the playing field. We need to get to their level. We need to get on their level. A scenario. A lot of adults think that we don't need to apologize to children.
Huh. That's
That is
unfortunate.
another thing as well. In the Scout movement, you learn why I come and I feed you a whole bunch of information and you go back to it. That's for school. In Scout, we have fun. We learn things. We apply what we learn to our life. It gives us, goes back again to that direction, that sense of belonging.
So
So,
give us an example of a program, Crystal, an actual program in scouting.
okay, so we have in scouting, there's different sections.
Mm-hmm.
The first section starts at Cubs. That is
Okay.
where you learn most of the values of life, the values of scouting. You
Mm-hmm.
learn the promise, the pillars, and then you go up. So, as you continue to grow, you learn different things at every stage.
Okay.
So a Cub Scout and a Scout is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
A Cub Scout and a Scout does not learn the same things. Programs that we have initiated is that we have, as Mr. Henderson said, he's been a trainer for more than 20 years. I am now the trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So we did trainings to advance that course. For example, there are, Mr. Henderson, help me. What is that training that we did in Rosalie? The name of it.
Level one trainers.
Level one trading course.
Okay. So we have the level one training course, and that is for adults in scouting. So scouting is not just for the youth, it's for adults as well. It's for leaders. It builds leaders for the future. So I can comfortably sit here and say scouting has made me the forward person that I am. When I
Good.
say I'm forward is I take initiative in everything. If I'm not interested, I tell you off the bat that I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So that is just a main key where it shows that it teaches value. It teaches you to be able to responsibility, choose your responsibility, accept your responsibility, adapt to your responsibility. Because if I think that something I cannot cope in that, I will say that I cannot do that. And I owe that to scouts. Because it taught me that level of discipline. Not just anybody here tonight can say they can depend on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is through scouting. That is just the channels that we go through as people. So when I see let's say somebody from the age of 5 to 9, from there I teach you values of life.
Mm-hmm.
How does that apply to our boys? A lot of the boys that we see on the road now, some of them you can say they come from the scout troop, they know better,
Right. So what is it?
reasons are there.
Peer pressure? Peer pressure, you think?
I think I think it's us let them down.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with a lot of do not know, or some people do not know how to channel certain things. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, we like to air our dirty laundry in public. If people cannot see that as a group that we can stay together, deal with our matters in house together, they will have a little more confidence in us. There are a lot of parents, as Mr. John said, children making children. But if I have confidence in you, even if I am a child or even if I am young in the movement, I still have that faith in Mr. John or Mr. Henderson because I know where they came from. But if I see in Mr. John and Mr. Henderson cannot agree together, why am I going to waste my time and send my child there? So we
Mm-hmm.
need to start with us.
Mm-hmm.
Start to fix up ourselves. Let people see that they can depend on us. I see Mr. Henderson probably want to say something there.
Yes, because I was going to ask him as well. Go, chime in, Mr. Henderson, and I also wanted to ask you about the level one training that you mentioned, just to give people a sense of what the actual training is. And then, Mr. John, I'm going to come to you to tell us about, community involvement. How is the Scouts involved in the community? Any work that you're doing for the benefit of our community? Because I get the sense it is a lot. I just joined the Rotary Club, and I get the sense it's kind of like Rotary in terms of community above self. So serving other people rather than being so solely focused on your own personal needs. So, Mr. Henderson, what is the level one training, and any other thoughts you want to share at this point?
The level one trainers course is to prepare people like Crystal to join the training team to conduct training for leaders,
Okay.
and also for the leaders to use that training to train the boys. Okay, so you cannot take a novice and put that novice to execute a program. You're just going to get a lot of mistakes happening and so on. So you need to train people in the proper way. And by the way, you don't want to train robots, because even if I train you in certain skills, you're supposed to use your initiative and make it interesting for the boys. And as you mentioned, the programs that we use for the boys to attract, if you want to attract new people and so on. I mean, the international organization has a whole cadre of programs. I mean, maybe we haven't even tapped into 10% of the number of programs they have because we have not been active enough, and we have not had the kind of people we need to make that happen. And so we have programs to do with environment, climate change, self development, skills development, leadership, character building, and a whole list of other things. And the need for that is because they have understood through their research over the years that after a boy moves from point A to point B in scouting, he's supposed to be an independent person, knowing how to make life work for him, so to speak. And that is in addition to his education in high school and primary school and so on and so forth. And one thing they tell you in scouting is that scouting is not a school, because it has to be done in the outdoor with the outdoor in mind, survival, skills, enjoying yourself. You don't want to leave a school class at 2, 3 o'clock and go back in another class and say you're going to scout meeting. That's not scouting. it has to be a difference. Yes, complementary, but it has to be different. And so when we train the leaders, we give them the skills they need to open up the mind of the leaders that they're going to assist so that they can use their initiative and make the program interesting for both boys and girls. And it was mentioned earlier that some people think that girls are softer than men. That is not true at all. The only difference between a man and a woman, quotes, is a womb. And that makes them even stronger than we are because they have a
Hey.
womb and they have more ribs than we have. So if you look down on women, they'll take over. So it's a question of understanding how you can tweak the program and bring in ladies for the ladies section to instill certain things in the ladies. And in fact, as Mrs. Andrew was saying, she used to deal with cubs. We always use ladies, or we try to use ladies for the cubs because remember the cubs are young children and they like their mother around. So we use a female to teach them certain things and to keep them together. But as they progress, they want to be more manly, more independent. And so we have to understand that if we have girls, we have to have the same kind of mindset. What do girls need in scouting? Yes, we have certain common things, but we have to remember that we have to keep them safe from themselves and others. Because some girls cannot keep themselves safe. So you have to actually force safety on them by putting policies in place. So now again I said it comes back to leadership. If you are a good leader, you will not have problems whether you have male or female or both. Because your mindset, and let me just say in closing that a lot of the problems we have where people are not safe is caused by the same leaders that lead in the group. And so if the leader knows he cannot trust himself, get out and put somebody that can do it in your place. If you know you have a certain mindset and you can't control it, you shouldn't be there. And that's all we say. People who are going to lead scouting must have the proper mindset. And you must know yourself. Don't put yourself in temptation and you cannot control it.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Mr. John, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I want to also touch on the level one and the different courses. The the former training commissioner, Mr. Henderson, mentioned about the level one training. When that exercise is over, it requires a reward, and the reward is at the end of the exercise. If you do pass the course, then you will receive freebies to indicate that you have done a level one course. If you do the level two training for at the leadership level, then you're entitled to get four beads. And if you do the basic practical wood batch course, then you're entitled to get two beads. So these are the recognition you get after the exercise of those training. For instance, like me, I am a two beads commissioner. Samuel and the others who are deserving it will be receiving theirs in September when they will be officially receiving the instrument to start their duties as commissioners. Henderson and another commissioner will receive four beats because he too have done level two, so he will receive his four beats as well. So these are the reward that is rewarded to those leaders at the end of the exercise. Um, Recruitment, community involvement. The Scout movement have played a significant role in the various communities that they serve. We have adopted, like for instance, in our community, we have adopted the Hope for the Ages, which we have given them a cleanup from time to time when they need supplies. There are community projects like a cleanup campaign on the cleaning a segment of a certain area of the community. And when we are called by an elderly, we go out because the community project, the members who go to secondary school, they also work for hours. So we extract the hours from those from the project so that we can sign for them for either at college or at secondary school. So
Oh, good.
they also benefit there as well in the community project. For instance, we are now being part of the St. Anne's um, fundraising committee. We are trying to reveal the repairs in the church to show we can start mass for the feast this month. And the Scout movement is there to begin playing a great role by assisting in cleaning, repainting, and trying to get some of the work done here as well. So the community projects, we have been very involved in getting community projects. We normally assist the churches, the schools, and various community institutions, as I said, like the home for the aged. We also assist do other things like tree planting projects. So there is a number of projects that we do in the community so that the community can see we are giving back to the movement.
Hmm.
Because we not only want to see the community when we are raising activity, we want to see the community seeing us involved in the community effort. So when we prepare to do fundraising activity, they took another feedback and give us back wisdom on that part. So it helps a lot. When you
Okay.
are in this cause movement, it helps a lot.
Yeah, excellent. So that gives us a great sense of the community involvement that the Scouting organization does. So before we run out of time, I just want to get some information to just give to the public. So, for example, the age range of someone who can join the Scouts, the time commitment, when a meeting's held. And of course, we're going to have parents that say, well, I'm interested, but are there fees? Do I have to pay for the uniform? Because we all know how very stretched some parents are in Dominica. So those are kind of practical questions that may come to mind. But before we do, Mrs. Santilla, you wanted to raise a point?
Yes, yes. I wanted to say that my training over 40 years ago was I was trained in Barbados as a Hazelwood, Barbados, and as a member of the Gilwell Park Troop, London, and I obtained my wood wood badge outdoor camping. So they trained you how to um, cook your food on a fire, um, wood of fire,
Out
and
of
uh, fire make out of wood, and also camping with scouts out in the elements and building your tents and whatnot. I think that that was that was um part of the camping session. You were trained, you're trained when you get a wood badge, you're trained how to live in the with your environment. If you're lost, if
Mm-hmm.
you're lost, if you go out and something happens, well, you as a scout will find your way back to the village. So you were trained um, in a lot of skills that you could pass on to the boys. As commissioner, commissioner, I was also given I received an adult training award because I I trained I used scouts to believe in themselves and to be as a group, for us to go out to Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad. I went to Grenada on a drug training abuse skill, and all that I brought back to Dominica with me. And we went to the jamboree. I took a set of boys, probably about which help me,
it was pretty
maybe about 60 boys
we
to
covered
to Grenada,
Jamaica.
to Jamaica on a
60.
jamboree.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
through Jamboree. So we were trained, have been trained in a lot of areas of management and helping people. So that's what the boys would learn from us. But I see it here as a different option no, because um, I was thinking that the age of technology would open out the path for more training. So if we could associate with skills in other areas like animal husbandry and what, because the Bobo job thing is over. So we can get collaboration with institutions and whatnot, you
Yep,
know,
that makes perfect sense. And
because
that was one.
that that was my joy. My
Yeah.
joy going on camping, teaching boys to cook, teaching boys to live with the elements around them, and if they see animals that would attack them, what they should do, and what not. And so, well, all those things are left behind now.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
enjoyed my scouting
Right.
because I've been on many training um um, let's say, meetings with other leaders, all wide and far in the Caribbean and in the outer world, that would we would bring back the elements of what we learned
Yeah,
to
and I
make,
can yeah,
yes,
and I can truly tell the values and the character that have come from
exactly.
everyone on this panel from being associated with the Scouts. So that is kind of what we're hoping for our young people. But Mr. Henderson, let me come to you. What is the number of Scouts at this time in Dominica? Where are the locations? We talked about Maho. I think we talked about St. Andrew, which I'm assuming is like Wesley area. But tell us the different locations where people can sign up to be a scout. And then, Crystal, I want to come to you so you can tell us about the time commitment and how you were able to juggle being a scout as well as your other responsibilities. I'm assuming you did so when you were in school. So, kind of just tell us, for somebody who might be interested, how it's possible to juggle the time commitment with your other responsibility. Mr. Henderson?
Uh, Sorry. I would like to let Mr. John deal with that topic,
Okay. Okay.
but there is one thing I need to talk about
Hmm.
before he comes to the microphone and so.
Yes, go ahead.
Um, my thinking in terms of scouting development now is um is a kind of radical shift because we used to have that notion that barber job kind of business where you beg parents for finance to run your program. But I have a different view to that. I believe in projects, and I've continued to say for maybe 15 years now that if 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 the scout troops can be given seed not seed money but seed assets. For example, you could have a troop raising chicken, and who better to buy the chickens when they're ready than the parents? So instead of going to a supermarket to buy the chicken, they can buy it from their own boys. And then the troop gets the money from the sale of the chicken and they rotate that thing for 10, 15 years. And you can do it with vegetables, you can do it with a whole set of things. Okay? And then in the process, you also teaching the boys to do agriculture, to do this, to do skills, to do whatever, whatever. So they're learning a skill, but they're also getting money for the troop. And they have nobody to beg. Now, for example, the government gives us a subvention every year, and the subvention is never enough. So if we can supplement that with our own fundraising, not having to beg, but doing a project that is perpetual, and it's just between boys and parents. You don't even have to go in the whole village. Just the parents will buy it, and that might be an attraction for other boys because some boys like to come in those things. I remember when I was teaching in St. Joseph Secondary School, they had no agriculture program, and I started something. And there were some very troublesome boys. The teachers just couldn't handle those guys because St. George, one of these areas, some of them are not so desirable. And I took them under my wings, and I used to have them doing the boxes to grow their seedlings. And people were asking me, how come I got them to do that? I said, I give them a reason to be alive.
Exactly.
So if you can give the scouts a reason to behave and be productive, they will do it. There is no bad boy. All the people you see shooting, they were not bad. Something happened that caused them to turn. So if you can give them a reason to do a project, fund their own groups, help their parents, and so on, they will do it. And so I see life as a project. Dealing with the boys is a project. You want to take them from point A to point B, that is a project. You have a cost, maybe. You have to get the assets to do it, and so on and so on. And you will get the results. If you can get the boys to believe that there is hope for them, they will stop their foolishness. And you see, you cannot make a boy good by increasing the police force. You're making him more
Amen.
resistant. He should be a friend to the police, not an enemy. So we have to rethink, and that is what the international body is trying to do. Bring in handicap. I don't like to use the term handicap, the challenged people. You bring in parents that have skills in different areas, counseling, projects, whatever, and you bring them in, not necessarily to be leaders for the whole year or 10 years, but bring them in for sessions. And when the boys start understanding, yes, there's a different way, they'll put the guns down and start doing something positive. Help the old lady across the road, carry a bag for the lady, and so on and so forth. Help an old man that is struggling across the bridge, and so on. The boys will do it if they are given the wherewithal to do it. So it is not, scouting should not be a vice grip, but it should give people a reason to do. And that is the thinking I have in scouting now. Let people come in because something is there for them to do, and they will pass it on to their friends in the group.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you said that, Mr. Henderson. Very well said, because one of the questions I had in mind was how do we provide hope for the young men on the side of the road? And you answered that so very well in terms of redirecting their energy, giving them purpose. Because when people have purpose, they have hope. And when they have hope, they change the direction, they change the path in terms of what they do when they see what they can accomplish. But if there's no opportunities for them to see what they can accomplish, then they feel hopeless and they resort to violence, they resort to the crimes we're seeing in Dominica because they have nothing to lose. They don't see any value in their own lives. So why are they going to put value on the life of somebody else? And that is what I talk about when we talk about the moral decay, because it seems like people's lives are of no value anymore if you can in the middle of the day brazenly shoot down someone. And the other thing we have to keep in mind, because it's like this is a hot topic today and then by tomorrow we've moved on to the next hot topic, but the other thing we have to keep in mind why we have to be concerned is because bullets have no eyes. So in the same way, one young man, and again, condolences to Alex and Margot, one young man got shot and killed. There were two other people who got injured and they could have been killed too. So while we might say, oh, not my problem, it's not my child, it's not my this, it's not my that, you can be an innocent bystander and get shut down as well. So it is all of our problems, and it is my problem too, because I love to visit Dominica and I like to go to Dominica on vacation. So it becomes my problem too. So we have to address this at a community level. So I'm really happy we are having this conversation, not in a vacuum, but we're having this conversation on a broad scale as we look at the challenges of our society, and we look at the very important role that scouting is playing. But I don't want us to run out of time. So Mr. John, tell us about the different locations where young people can sign up to be scouts. Tell us about any fees that are involved, any age ranges. So kind of just give us the rundown of the organization.
Okay, before we go, let me just say the age range for the different section. We have the Corp section, which is the smaller section, from 7 to 11 and a half,
Hmm.
the Cubs. We have the Scout section from 12 to 15, and we have the Adventure Scout from 15 up to 18. When you are at the age of 18, then you start attaining for senior leadership. Within the period from the Cub to the Adventure section, you will be trained during that period as you move on from one stage to the next as junior leaders. But once you reach the age of 18, then you start to look at sending you to train to become senior leaders, to take senior leadership position in the various strokes. For the Cubs, every 4 years we have what we call the Caribbean Jamboree. That is for that is an event for all association in the region. That's where all Cubs meet every 4 years for the Caribbean Jamboree. Like what you guys were saying, when we were representing Dominica in Jamaica in 1991, she was the contingent commissioner and I was a deputy at the time when we represented Dominica there. We were 16 of us, and we did represent Dominica solidly there. We also hosted the Caribbean Cobra as well for Reunion 88, and she and I was on the transport committee dealing with transportation. We had I think 900 scouts from the region here for that exercise. So every 4 years we expect to have Cubs meeting up at the regional level for the Caribbean coverage. We also have the Caribbean Jamboree, where all scouts meet throughout the region. The scouts are the one from 12 to 15 years of age. They meet up in a particular country because every 4 years, then they will decide which country hosts the next Jamboree. So you know early enough, so you start to prepare for you to attend. So every country will respond if they are participating and how much person that is going to be part of their contingent. So these are some of the exercise we have at regional level that the boys is expected to attend to represent themselves as individually and also to represent our association and by extension Dominica to make us proud. We also have at international level, which is the commissioners conference, where people like me or Commissioner Henderson may have to attend the World Conference from time to time, where we have to sit and look at policy, look at some of the changes, and take certain decisions as to where do we go from there as the world body. And when we come back, we have to report back to our association as to what transpired. So there is different stages, different leadership operation and that level. We only have three communities presently that are uniformized. We have St. Alphonsus, which is Goodwill. We have Cassibros, and we have the Third House Culture. Out of these three groups, we have approximately at least 150 members
Oh, good.
membership right now. Our numbers have declined for the past 7 to 8 years. There, our numbers have declined. So since I have taken office as chief commissioner, we are looking at recruitment. So we have had meeting on the north with leaders who have agreed to come back and serve our young people. So we have had meeting on the north. We have had meeting on the south of the island. We have had meeting with all the new commissioners and the new training team to set the pace forward. On the 13th of September, we are going to have the warrant ceremony that will give all the appointed commissioners the instrument to serve for the period of 3 years. And we will also present certificates to the training team members to serve for the period of 3 years. So the chief scout of Dominica is the president of Dominica. So anybody who automatically becomes president of Dominica automatically becomes the chief scout of the island.
Ah, interesting.
Yes. So When that is done, she will do the presentation of the warrants, and I will, as chief commissioner, I will present the bids to the deserving commissioners that is deserving for the bids, and also the presentation of the certificates to the trading team. Now we also have what we call the national executive. The executive is responsible for the executive administration part of the association, and myself and the rest of the commissioners that form the commissioners council is responsible for executing the policy, the rules, and the plans of the organization down there. So when we meet from time to time to look at where we at and what have transpired, and what decision we may have to make as an association. The executive consists of the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, nominated members, and secretary slash treasurer. Our president right now is President Bishop Lennox Timothy, who's our president of the Scout Association, and I am the chief Scout commissioner. So both of us have to hand in hand carry the duties for the association. So that's where we are.
Yeah, so that is wonderful. So, and again, I'm always willing to collaborate with you. So, I think visibility is so important. Again, reaching the young people where they are through social media. So, any flyers you would like to share, any opportunities for meetings to invite more people to join to kind of just talk about the wonderful experiences that the Boy Scouts, the Scouts offer. I am more than willing to be a part of that, and Mrs. Centilla knows how to reach me, so she knows she knows anything she sends me. I'm going to share and I'm going to post. Yes, Mr. John.
Yes, while you're on that, and that is why since we have recruiting back, getting our house back in order, we are also looking at repartnering with our partners because we had a few business houses that used to partner with the association before. We'll be touching base with those business places to reconnect with them because there was a
Yeah.
disconnection for a while. So we are planning to reconnect back with them to see how they can come back on board to assist us, not only financially but otherwise to work with the association to make things being seen. And when I heard we were supposed to be on your program tonight, I was so happy to know that we're able to disseminate the information. Let the nation know from at home and abroad that scouting is alive and well.
Yes, because
We
I
have
was very concerned when I kept hearing it's no longer functional in Dominica. I heard that from at least two people because I was adamant I wanted to do a program on scouting in Dominica because I know that it is a formidable organization and that you're doing so much good, not just for the community, but for building the holistic person. And to hear the age range is so vast, I think that is so important.
well, the thing is, the association, the executive was dormant for quite a while. I
Mm.
find that, like us in the Third Mouse Scout Group, we just was on our own doing what we know that has to be done. Central Council will do the same, likewise in Cassibus. But from last year, we have had a general election, so we have had a new executive. And when they was elected, they asked me if I'm willing to serve again as the chief commissioner. And I said, providing me have serious people to work on board, I am prepared. If not, I will remain in my little corner. And
Mhm.
when I went to ask persons like Mr. Henderson, Mrs. Sentile, and we have another stalwart that is not that was supposed to be for that is Sheriff de Gregoire.
Mhm.
They told me, no, 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 Mr. John, you should take the opportunity, let us re-establish the structure of the scout movement so we can start doing recruitment. Our boys need us more than ever.
Absolutely.
I take up the responsibility. I said yes, and here we go. And our first public interview is tonight. So I'm very happy that
Yay.
you consented to us to have us tonight to disseminate as much as we could tonight. I know time is so short, but so much to talk about.
I
So
know. Well, it's my program, so I can have you back whenever I choose to. So we're not going to be concerned. So we're going to follow your progress, and you have to thank Mrs. Centile
Thank
over there
you.
because she's the link. She's the link. But before we run out of time, Crystal, just tell us very quickly the time commitment, and then I'm just going to circle around for everybody's final comments. But I also need your contact information. So in the private chat area that we talked about before, if somebody can post the email address, phone number, how the public can reach you, even if they don't have someone who's potentially a scout, maybe they can offer some sort of support, financial or otherwise, to you. So if someone can go ahead and post in the chat area. Do you see the chat area, the private chat? The phone number and contact information. So, Krista, over to you.
Okay, so as a member of Scout per se, there isn't too much challenge that you face. Um, it's more or less for the leaders, and it's a voluntary service.
Mhm.
For the leaders, it is very time consuming. It affects relationships, it
Oops.
affects households, because you have it's sort of so delicate that not everybody can understand, or they have to have the knowledge of what's going on. Because
Mhm.
if I am taking so much pride in something, I put my everything, right? Now while you put in your everything into this, you lacking something somewhere
Right.
behind. So for the members, we tend to make everything nice. But
Mhm.
behind the groundwork, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of
It
commitment.
takes a lot of work. I am just putting together our policy,
Mhm.
and it has taken me like 3 days, but there's a lot of information that I still think that I am missing. And I have to present this tomorrow to the
Oh.
executive. So it's time consuming, it
Mhm.
takes a lot of effort, and it also takes a lot of dedication.
Mhm.
So if you don't have a lot of time,
Mhm.
probably you can provide moral support, not
Right.
leadership support,
Right.
because leadership support takes a lot from you, from your
Mhm.
daily activities, from your daily life, and you have to be willing. Missy Centily, I can tell you, she messages me like 12 o'clock, 12:30. Another person might say, or my husband might say, who's
Yep.
messaging you at 12:30?
Yep.
But he knows that I am part of a group, and he knows this is something that I like. I like a challenge. Well, not like, no, I love a challenge. I like when
Mhm.
things work and I have to make it work. That's my stronghold. I like to be part of, even if I don't get the credit for it, but for self awareness, I like to know that I was part of that. I created that. I helped build that. And
Mhm.
that's what it takes here. A lot of people who are willing. So Mr. John is willing. Mrs. Santila is willing. Mr. Henderson is willing.
Mhm.
So not just we have a good support system behind Mr. John. So we are asking the parents, those who can hear us, just give us that chance. We know we have let you all down in the past in terms of where we were and where we are now is two different. Instead we have moved forward, we have actually moved backward.
Mhm.
So we are asking them to just give us that chance to see, because we have a great structure, we have a great support system among ourselves. We work with each other well, we understand each other and the needs of each other, so we can push the organization to where we vision it, or where we want it to be able to make that difference and that change.
Right. So in terms of the meetings, what day and times? Does different areas in Dominica have different meeting times?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So I think
So
what we can do, the best thing would be to give the contact number. So let me give it out because we're running out of time, and then just think about your final thoughts real quick. So I'm going to share Mr. Henderson. I'm just going to share one phone number because folks get confused if you share too many numbers. So guys, listen up, and I'm going to repeat it one more time before we leave. We have International Commissioner, Mr. Edward Henderson, and his email address is C as in cat, A as in apple, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, H as in Henry, Y as in yellow, 08 at gmail.com. So again, that is CASSHY08 at gmail.com, and his WhatsApp phone number, area code 767-613-9199. Again, 767-613-9199. And I'm going to just share that on Facebook and YouTube real quick as well if you're there. So we have like 30 seconds for each person. Closing thoughts, and I'm so excited you guys were here. Thank you so much for coming. It's great to hear that the Scouts in Dominica have been revitalized, that you're back and you're back with a force. And I'm looking to be a part of the journey to support you in any way to give you the visibility that is needed to recruit more young people, especially our young men. That is where my concern lies. Our young men into a fantastic organization. So 30 seconds, final thoughts, Mr. Henderson, go.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being with us tonight, and thanks for allowing me to share my thoughts. And I just hope we'll not let you down in the future as we move forward. Thank you and good night.
Yes, no, you won't let me down. You're doing good work. Mrs. Centilere.
Final thoughts. We want the private sector to act as professionals and come on board. Come on board. Start the campaign for the scouts and electrical, animal husbandry, painting, printing, welding, the arts, music, dance, and drama. So come on board and help us because, as Mr. Henderson said, you don't have to be a leader to be part of the scout troop, to be lending a hand. Thank you.
Fantastic. Mr. John?
Well, I would say thank you to you personally because that is a great move for us, I must say. And thank you to the listening audience who hear in our voice at home and abroad. We need your support more than ever to make a difference in our young men and women lives as we move ahead. We will get back to you as soon as we're able to get back on this program or other media to continue to spread the word of the Dominican Association. Thank you and God bless.
Yes, Crystal, your final thoughts?
Okay, we just want to thank everybody, including yourself, for having us here. And we look forward to working with you for you to showcase our progress as we go along. Um, well, myself will look at it as a challenge, or you're going to come back to us and see in 2 months where are we. So that's the kind of encouragement that I welcome, and I think everybody here welcomes as well. We'd like to thank our listening public, and we look forward to engaging with them and sharing what we have in store with them.
Excellent. So, well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Roots Connections on Q. If you joined us later into the program, don't forget you can catch up the entire program. You can catch the replay by simply going to Facebook and YouTube and typing in Q95 FM radio, or on Facebook. You can find me at push past 10 on Facebook. And again, we would like to feature anyone out there who is doing important work, who's being a positive light. We want to feature the work that you're doing to move Dominica forward, because that is what we need. The visionaries who are on the front line doing the work, not the ones who are in the background talking about what we should do and what we need to do, but those who are actually doing it. So that is my commitment to you, to showcase those among us who are doing the work to help advance Dominica and the Caribbean region. A special thank you to our listeners, our Facebook Live and YouTube Live commenters, and those who joined us on Facebook. Catherine Nicole Zalo, thank you for being here. Thai Francis Dalton, David Joseph, everyone who chimed in on the discussion this evening. I want to thank you. So this evening we were joined by the Scouts movement in Dominica, and we were talking about with the increasing cases of violence we're witnessing among our boys and men, and the general sense of hopelessness that many of our young people are experiencing. What is the role of our organizations in helping our youth to navigate these very challenging times? And we were very happy to be joined by the Chief Scout Commissioner, Mr. Davidson John. We also had the International Commissioner and Acting Deputy Chief Commissioner, Mr. Edward Henderson. And then we had the Trainers Commissioner, Mrs. Christelle Cat Charter Francois, and then another person involved in training, strong supporter for our program, Mrs. Huguette Centilere. So I want to thank everyone for being here. We will continue our mission here on Roots Connections of harnessing the power of technology, international radio, social media, as we continue to leverage the expertise of our Dominicans at home and abroad for the sustainable development of our lovely country, Dominica, our people, and our Caribbean region. And you guys did an absolutely fantastic job in doing just that. And I look forward to continuing building that partnership with the Dominica National Scout Organization, the Scouting movement, as we journey together. So with that, you can feel free to unmute your mics. Thank you, Lambi, for being here. As always, Mr. G, the Q95 family, you guys can unmute your mics and say good night to everyone. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Good night, everyone.
All right, thank you guys. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Roots Connections on Q, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities and educational advancement.